Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to my Land Rover Discovery 5 HSE Luxury that I finally have back. It's so weird being back in this car after not having it for so long, and I've just driven it about 50 miles probably, and to be fair, it drives absolutely perfectly. It genuinely feels like a new car. So before giving it back, Marshalls have obviously given it a really deep clean and polish, and it is looking very good. Let me show you around outside. Looking very clean, a lot of my rubbish here, but let me show you outside. And I've forgotten actually how good this car does look, which is not good news for me generally, because I do really want to move this on. I'm quite sick of the Land Rover issues generally, but you can see it's so shiny and actually looks in great condition all round. And I've had a really good look at the brakes and the tyres and stuff, and actually they all seem in pretty good order compared to what I was expecting actually. Having it been sort of stationary for quite a while, it actually seems in really good nick generally. So really pleased with how it's come out, and it drives really well. Starts every time now with the new wiring harness, had loads of bits replaced on it now. So it's pretty much running like, well, a new car for its age. So I'm really pleased with that. And you know, I forget how good these do drive. When they are working, they are phenomenal to drive. So easy, comfortable, and you can just munch miles away with these. So yeah, it's back. I have it back on the channel, and it's back in my garage now. So I guess the big dilemma is really what happens now. What does happen? And you know, I've had now this journey with this Land Rover for a long time, and I really enjoyed having it. Owned it since pretty much brand new. It was about 8 months old when I bought it, so I had it for the past 4 or 5 years. It's been a brilliant family car generally. I can't really fault it when it's been working, but as you all know that watch this, it's had some problems, as many people that seem to have the 2-litre engine in this vehicle seem to have. But I'm hoping now most of those parts and problems have been resolved, and actually it's probably going to have potentially the best years ahead of it now, I hope. So what do I do now? What am I doing next with it? I guess it's a difficult one. I've got to make a decision in the next week or so to decide, am I going to keep it? Do I want to trade it for something different? And if I do trade it for something different, am I going to be able to stay away from getting another Land Rover? And I know many of you commented on my last video saying, I don't understand how somebody that has bought a Land Rover and had the trouble would ever consider buying another one. And I think it's something that's really hard to describe, and maybe foolish. Some people would describe it as just being foolish, but like driving it today for the 50 miles I've had it, it's just such a nice car to drive, and literally the perfect family car. You can get everyone in it. You can see it's got a really good 7-seat capacity in the Discoveries. It's comfortable, it's smooth, it's quiet, it does so many things. And you know, I came out of the Range Rover Sport that I had, and although I did enjoy having the Range Rover Sport, it was a really good car, drove all the way to the Alps in it and back. The Discovery has a different feel about it. I think the Discovery it does feel way more spacious inside. The cabin space is much bigger. The Range Rover almost feels like a mix between a car and a 4x4. The Sport does, at least, with the dash, the way it swoops over and kind of comes in the middle console. Whereas the Discovery has still that utilitarian element to it, quite boxy, quite square. I know it's not like a Discovery 4, but for me it still has that feeling of being a bit more utilitarian than a Range Rover Sport does, of the same generation. So I've had a number of different cars during this journey of having this car repaired and get back on the road. Lived with a Kia Sportage for a while, which actually got to quite like. It was super nippy, very easy to live with, no issues at all with it. I then had a Toyota Hilux for a while, which again I really enjoyed having a pickup. I really enjoyed that. I think there's a lot which is quite similar in regards to your driving position that you have in this car as you do a pickup. Had that for a while. Then I had a Discovery 5 that was about 2 years old. I think it was a D300 engine. Really enjoyed having that engine, and I think if I was to buy another one of these, or for those that are watching, the 3-litre engines are definitely the one to go for. Make a big difference in regards to what it's like to drive, and just the power and the comfort you get with it. But also there seems to be less reported problems with the 3-litre engine. And I think talking about problems with engines, if you talk about the 2-litre versus the 3-litre, I was talking to one of the service heads at the dealership I was at, and what he was saying is 2 litres, they do, with the 2-litre, the Land Rover say you need to be servicing it every 2 years, and I think 21,000 miles for your first service. And even he said, look, that just feels too long. And I completely agree. It's particularly if you're towing or using these vehicles like they're meant to be and designed to be used. You know, a service interval of 2 years is quite a long time, or 20,000 miles without having any kind of service or oil change. And so I think if you do have one of these cars that's a 2-litre variant, I would just advise getting an oil change probably a bit more often. I think that seems to be maybe something that helps preserve the life of them and make them go on a little bit longer. But the Discovery 5 and the 3-litre engine, really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great car. Then I had the Range Rover Sport, again, the 3-litre engine in Firenze red, which wasn't my colour of choice. It wouldn't be my colour of choice. Really got to love that car. Had it for about 5-6 weeks. As I mentioned, I drove all the way to the Alps in it, to France, did probably about 4,000 miles in that car in total, and that was flawless. Brilliant car, worked so well, and again, excellent family car. And I still can't get my head around the value of these cars now, considering what they were new. Like this car, for example, is worth probably around 18, 19, maybe 20,000 pound, depending. And so for that much money, if you can get a car that does all of this so well, so comfortably, there's very few cars on the market that can really compete with that when they're working. And so actually, as a vehicle, they're great. I think the Range Rover Sports that I had, for example, I did look at getting insured on that, because a lot of people were talking about potentially me trading up into that, and that is an option. You know, Marshalls would take this off me as a Part X, but the insurance on this is quite a lot still. So the insurance on Range Rover Sports is quite a lot more than this. Insurance on this for me, about £1,200. Insurance on that Sport was over 2,000. So a little bit more expensive, just because they're probably more desirable, get stolen a bit more often. So this video generally has been me kind of talking about my experience and journey with my Discovery 5. And if you haven't seen already, watch all the previous videos on my channel, because I talk about life with it, the problems I've had, and everything else. So if you have a vehicle or you're looking at buying one, I think hopefully it'll help guide you maybe, and help make you make some choices that you might have to make in regards to what engine size or anything you'd go for. But for me, it feels like the end of the road with my ownership with the Discovery, and with newer Land Rovers actually in general. I still love the old Land Rovers, and I'm picking up my new Defender project very soon. But for the newer Land Rover models, I kind of been put off a bit with the ownership journey of this, just because of the multitude of problems they have and the insurance issues. It's kind of made me move away from the brand a little bit, which is quite sad, because I've loved my time with my Discovery 4 and then my Discovery 5 for the last 4-5 years. But I won't be getting another Land Rover next. I've made that decision that it won't be a Land Rover for my next vehicle. So, which feels strange. It's kind of the end of the story, at least for now. Maybe in the future, when the Discovery 6 comes out, let's see what that looks like, and you know, everything that has to offer. Maybe I'll reconsider that. But for the moment, I think my journey and my story with Land Rover is probably over for a little while, when I'm going to be looking at getting rid of my Discovery 5 quite soon, hopefully. But anyway, very much a rambling video. Hope that's been interesting for anyone that wanted an update. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, follow the channel, see what I'm going to get next, and speak to you guys very soon.